But once again, we stand facing a new year that many thought would probably never come. Just felt like last year just kept dragging on and on to some. And around this time last year, 2020, we had no idea what 2020 was going to bring. I know that at the end of 2019, you would see a lot of memes. For those people that may not know what memes are, it's just like something funny that somebody makes, like a joke. You were seeing a lot of memes of people preaching or titles of messages that were going to say True Vision 2020 or something, about the best 2020 year or this and that. But nobody had any idea what it truly was going to hold besides those that were truly tuned in with the Lord, or that the Lord revealed it to them. And just like last year, this year we still don't know what 2021 holds. For many, 2020 was a year unlike anything that they have ever experienced or faced in their lifetime or seen in their lifetime. For some, it was a great year, a year of blessing, a year of open opportunities, a year where they've made connections despite COVID and everything else that has taken place. It was a great year, and God moved in their life, and it was a special time, and they got grounded and rooted in the Word of God. Many of us were sick this year, sicker than we've been in some time, maybe ever. Just sick, but thank God we're here. Many lost loved ones. Many loved ones got called out of this earth into His presence. It's been just a trying time and a trying year. But if 2020 has taught me anything, if I learned anything from 2020, is that things are truly winding down. Is that in an instant, anything can change. In an instant, anything can collapse. Any economy can collapse. In an instant, there could be martial law. In an instant, anything can happen just like that. We go to sleep tonight, wake up to a totally different world tomorrow. Things are truly winding down. The return of Christ is truly at hand. The climate of our world, not just our nation, not just our country, but our world is an unprecedented climate and time that we are living in. If our hopes and our dreams are planted on government or jobs or politics or the environmental matters, etc., we are gravely mistaken. If all of our hope and dreams are in these things, we're going to be greatly disappointed and greatly going to be let down in these coming days. If my hope is on what the government has to offer, then I will be greatly disappointed. I remember having a dream that the Lord spoke to me through this dream. And before I share that, let me just say this. Man is trying to come up with plans and ideas to navigate us through this time, going deeper and deeper in despair, all the while waiting for the right person to take control of the situation. Everything is getting set up for that one world nation, that one world government. Why is it that people have to sink so low before they can turn to Christ? Why is human nature that way? Why would we rather go through everything else instead of just turning our life to Christ right away? Why would I rather live years of misery and suffering and all of a sudden give Him 2 years of my life or a month? Not that He can't redeem that time, but why don't I want to give Him 1 month when I couldn't give Him all my life? Why not start today? Why wait till it's too late? Why wait till there's no more time left? Even though this world is crazy, the Bible says that there is one that sticks closer than a brother. Amen? That's Jesus Christ that I'm talking about. Several years ago, back to that dream, I had a dream where the Lord showed me something. And in this dream, I was on a missions trip. It was a day when we were done preaching. I guess we were done doing what we were doing, because normally on missions trips, after we do the conference or whatever, we would go see the countryside or anything that, that maybe you've never seen before. And so in this dream, we were going to see the countryside. And we're driving through beautiful landscape, mountains and different places. And we got brought up to this big mountain. It was a high mountain. We can see everything down. And in this dream, we were in this beautiful countryside up on this tall mountain. There was a great deep valley, and across that valley there was another mountain just as big as the mountain we were in. It was massive. But in that mountain across from me, it was filled with buildings and beautiful architecture and beautiful land. It just looked nice. It looked pretty. It looked beautiful. And I remember thinking in this dream to myself, why didn't the guy, why didn't the pastor why didn't they bring us there? Why did we come here? Why are we not looking at, those buildings and the architecture? Man, that looks like a neat place. I remember thinking that. And so I asked the translator. I wasn't in a Spanish country. I was in Haiti or something. I don't know. So I had a translator. So I asked him, I said, what is that place? And all he said was this. He said, that's man. And as soon as he said that, the earth began to shake. There was a big earthquake. I've been in earthquakes before, but not in anything major. This earthquake was huge. I felt like the mountain I was standing in was about to be split in half, and I felt like I was about to fall through. That's how strong this earthquake was. It began to shake and rattle that mountain where I was standing. And as I'm losing my balance, looking down, trying to figure out what to do, what to grab a hold of, or what's going to happen, once it was done, I remember looking up in his dream, and I never forgot the picture, the image that I saw. When I looked up, everything that was across where I was looking, man, everything was brought down to nothing. It was like going to the local dump. They had seagulls flying all over it, birds flying all over it, trash everywhere. It was nothing but dirt and debris. It was nothing but trash and debris that was there. And I remember when I woke up, that's exactly what that man said. That is man. That's man. That means that what we see now will not always be. That means that what we see now will not always be. All the things that we see today, it's a spiritual world. It's a spiritual war. We're going somewhere. This is not the end. This is the beginning of something. And God is bringing us somewhere. We've seen it in history time and time again. Empires, civilizations who appeared to have no end in sight. The Romans appeared to rule everything. Genghis Khan and Alexander the Great and all these people, China, the Greeks, the Egyptians, all these people, it appeared that their empire was nowhere near the end. It was going to rule and reign forever. People would chant back in Europe and different places, long live the king, long live the king. Well, those kings are long gone and dead now. But there is one king that is still alive. There is one king that died and rose again on the third day and sits at the right hand of the Father. I'm talking about the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, Jesus Christ. He's the one that transcends time. His word says it'll never fail, and he's alive this morning, despite what this world says. He's never lost a battle. Folks, this is not our world. This is not our home. I don't belong here. I don't want to belong here. I don't want nothing this world has to offer. This is the best it can come up with. Everything man touches, they corrupt. Everything human nature begins to take a hold of, they begin to corrupt everything. Thank God for the blessings. I do thank God for you. I do thank God for this country. I do thank God for victories and friendships. I do thank God for my children and having me alive in such a time as this. But most of all, I thank God for saving me by his grace, for leading me ever before me, leading me and guiding me, and to know that the best is still yet to come. You to get discouraged like we do sometimes, just remember, the best is yet to come. The best is yet to come for the child of God. I stand here today just as vulnerable as any of us concerning the new year. And if I let my mind wander, if I let my mind just have its way, my mom will be gone, or my grandma, or my kids, or something. I can't afford to just let the devil just put anxious thoughts on my head and all this. I don't have time for that. But one thing I do take courage in is that God will lead God and direct my steps whatever comes my way. If I hold on to him, he'll hold on to me. Remember, I told you that story about that old man driving in the truck with his wife. And they're both sitting on this one, it's a one bench seat, you know those, and the wife's sitting on one side, and the husband's sitting on the other side. And she said, I miss the days when we used to sit close together. I miss the days when we used to ride together and we would sit close. And what did the driver say? He said, I never moved. I'm still in the same spot. Same thing with God. He's never gone anywhere. He's still there. We can be as close to him as we want to be. This morning I want to preach on this thought for just a few minutes. Come rest with us. Come rest with us. And we're going to go into what that means. There's two parts to the definition rest. The first part, it says to cease work or movement in order to relax. Well, we don't get to relax as long as we're still on this earth. We don't get to just put on cruise control and no more battles and no more trials. We know that that's not going to happen until we get called up to glory. So that's not the relax. That's not the rest that I'm going to be referring to this morning. But I am going to be referring and allude to the rest that means to refresh oneself and to recover strength. To refresh oneself and to recover strength. Jesus says in John 14:1-3, he says, let not your hearts be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house there are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive unto you myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. He says he goes and prepare a place for us. That's a promise. There was an old man walking the streets of the city. He was up in age, battered because he was up in age, and because he was poor, he couldn't retire. He had to work. And as he's walking these streets, just battered, just tired from working, his hands, everything is back, doing hard labor to survive. He's moving slowly, and he's going home. He's walking home with all his stuff, and there's two people that are watching this old man as he's mumbling something. He's mumbling how tired he is, and he's mumbling how he's worked hard and this and that. And they're watching him, and all of a sudden, the old man's tone changes. And he perks up. And they hear the old man say, I will rest when I get home. And all of a sudden, that little phrase, that little saying gave him enough energy, enough vigor to continue his walk home. Just to take an extra step, to go a little faster, because he knew when he got home, he can rest. While he's still walking, while he's still moving, it's not time. But as soon as he got home, he knew he had enough energy. He gave him life to say, I will go home and I will rest. Well, God has prepared a place for us. A place of rest. Even though the trials and tribulations are here in this time, there will be a place of rest. The Bible says, we know in Isaiah 40:31, they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. You know what this verse is telling us here? This verse is saying that sometimes through our life, through our situation, God is going to give us the ability to fly and soar through that situation. And we're going to fly up to the clouds, and we're going to see all kind of stuff that we've never seen before. But it also says that sometimes we may not go as fast, but we'll still run through the situation. He says, I'll make you run through the situation. And you know what else it says? He'll walk. Sometimes you can't fly, sometimes you can't run, but he'll still give you the ability to walk, whether step by step, little by little. This tells me that God will always move us forward. Always. Always. Whether we crawl, whether we walk, whether we run, whether we fly, he will renew our strength that we move on. We moved on from 2020. We'll move on from 2021 if the Lord tarries. We've moved on through hardships and trials and lost loved ones, losing jobs, losing family, by his grace and his mercy. Not boasting, not bragging, not saying we're something special, but by the grace of God that he said, I will renew your strength and give you what you need. Let's not let off the gas. Let's not let off the gas today and say, thank God, 2020 is over. Now everything's just going to go back to normal. Let's just sit back and just hope everything just goes good. No, the scripture says, peace, peace, and there comes sudden destruction. Don't let off the gas and think, okay, we made it. Now it's time to rest. We may not get a time to rest right now. Make Sundays priority in your life, in your family's life. I know men ought to serve. We ought to serve God and worship God every day, not just Sunday, every day. But chances are, if you can't make Sunday, then you're not worshiping God anyway. Any day. Not Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. Not worshiping the Lord. You're not ready for his return. We have a set day apart. It used to be known everywhere. It used to be everywhere with Respect Sundays. Why? Because that was a day we would set aside and apart to worship God. When we would get together and say, hey, let's go to the house of the Lord. Let's lift up holy hands. Let's worship. Let's magnify the name of Jesus. Let's do this to worship the Lord collectively. People used to respect it and know it as a day where we would worship the Lord collectively. Again, not that you can't do it Monday or any other day, but I'm saying where you purpose with other people to say, let's get together this day. Let's set it apart this day. Again, don't misunderstand me. If the doors are open, and you are not sick, don't come sick. I'll get in trouble. Brother Perry will wear me out. I stress it. If you are not sick, not running fever, I understand. Use common sense. If you're not sick, make it a priority. I understand some don't want to get exposed. I understand some don't want to come and get exposed, and that's fine. But I don't want to see you on the highlights of the football game cheering. The camera all of a sudden pans out and, oh, look, there's so-and-so. Man, what are they doing at the game? Brother Paul, do you have somebody in mind? No, sir. But if it's you, it's you. I stand here before God. Nobody in mind, no names, no faces. I'm innocent before God. I'm standing behind the pulpit, and you don't play with the things of God, and so I don't have anybody in mind. I'm just throwing the water out there. If it gets you wet, that's it. But there will come a time where people are going to wish that they had Sundays back. There's going to come a time that people will do anything or give anything just to sit, even if it's in the back pew. Man, if I could just walk through those doors one more time. If I could just sit in that pew. I don't even care what pew it is. I don't care if it's the floor. If I could just be there. If I could just hear Brother Perry one more time. If I could just sing with the people one more time. If I could just shake some hands. There's going to come a time where people are going to wish that. It's going to be too late. Too late. You look at Exodus. God gave instructions to put the blood of the lamb in the doorpost. The 10th plague, to keep the firstborn alive. Those that listen to the word of God, those that listen to what Moses had to say, what God said through Moses, while the whole world was in chaos because they lost their firstborn, they were in peace. They had that blood applied to the doorpost of the door. Just like we have the blood applied, if we've been born again, to the doorpost of our heart. I'm talking about, I don't want just a little dot. I want that angel. I want that angel to know. I don't care if I got to put up signs, whatever. I want them to know this place is covered by the blood. I want them to know that this place, this family belongs. Don't you think it matters? Could imagine a son or a daughter saying, I don't want to stay. Sure, okay, don't worry about it. Go to your friend's house over there somewhere. Go to the little Egyptian boy's house. It's fine. It's okay. There's no problem. I just don't feel it's weird. I don't want people thinking we're weird. My friends are laughing at me. They're saying, what are you doing putting this blood? Are you crazy? What's going on with you? I don't want to be here. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. We don't want you to grow up, and we don't want you to feel bad and sad and get bullied and this and that. So yeah, go ahead. Go to your Egyptian friend's house. You think it mattered when that angel came? What mattered when that angel came? If that person was under the blood, then they were safe. It didn't matter what the last name was. It didn't matter who they were. If you were not under the blood, if you were not under that blood, that angel was going to smite the firstborn. It mattered. It matters that we belong to Christ. This world is in chaos, but the people of God can have rest. And I believe that this year will be 2020, part 2. I'm not prophesying. I'm not here prophesying and saying this is what's going to happen. But I'm feeling like we're just going to continue where we left off. Because there's a lot of things that are left unanswered. There's still a lot of questions about the vaccine. There's still a lot of questions about a new strand of COVID and this and that. There's still a lot of questions about voter fraud and politics and stuff. And I'm not here to talk about all that this morning, but there's still a lot of stuff that's left unanswered. It's not like it's wiped clean and all of a sudden, boom, new year, new thing, don't worry about anything. There's still a lot of things that are left unanswered. The economy, the dollar bill losing its value, other things coming up on value, all this cryptocurrency that is gaining more value now, and all these, there's a lot of things that are still out there, questions. But I can say this, and I felt this praying last night, yesterday, that God is going to open new doors of opportunity for some of you. That God is going to open up doors of opportunity for His people. If you belong to Him, He's going to open up new doors of opportunity. He is going to bless you. But listen to this. It's not going to be just so we can be blessed. It's going to be for a greater reason and for a greater purpose. For example, if I get a new job, I'm not looking, I'm just saying, let's say I was just there. I'm just example. I'm working out in the field and I get promoted or moved to another place for another job. It's not just so I can say, God, thank you for more money and more blessings and more this. It is thank you for that. But God is saying, hey, I'm about to come back. And there's somebody in that place that you need to talk about my return about. There's something going on in there, and you're going to be the beacon of light for me. I'm giving you this, not so you can just boast and brag and just go about your business. I'm giving you this for a greater purpose. I'm giving you this so you can use this for my glory. I'm giving you this so you can warn people about what's about to take place. I'm giving you this so you can help people find a peace and a rest of God. He doesn't ever bless us just so we can hold on to the blessings. He gives us the blessings so they can flow through us to this earth, to the people, to everybody. And the more you give, the more He gives. We don't ever want to be a stagnant pond or lake with no outlet. We always want to keep that flow going. Amen. As God gives the increase, you keep giving it back and He'll continue to bless you. I'm telling you, I know for a fact God told me. Some of you will be in places, you will be blessed like never before. This is not prosperity, this is a fact, but this is going to be for a reason, not just to lift you up. Do you understand what I'm saying? Not just to buy 3 brand new trucks and a 5-story mansion, but it's to serve the Lord with all your heart, mind, and soul. Things are winding down. The more and more chaos ensues, the more those with the peace of God are going to stand out. The Bible says that we are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood. We've been called to be a peculiar people, somebody that stands out. Not somebody that looks like the crowd, not somebody that does the same things, but somebody that stands out. Amen. Before I close, 2 Thessalonians 1:7 jumped out me for a lot of reasons. It says, and to you who are troubled, and this is where I got the title, Rest with Us, when the Lord Jesus shall be revealed from heaven with His mighty angels. And to you who are troubled, it says, rest with us. Rest with us. When the Lord Jesus shall be revealed from heaven with His mighty angels. To me, that just sounds good when it says, to you who are troubled, rest with us. It sounds good. I can imagine working out in the sun, sweating, doing some kind of hard labor, digging posts or doing something hard. Just sweating, hot summer day in Alabama. Just working hard, sweat drenching. And all of a sudden, here comes the Apostle Paul with some of these other guys with a cold, icy glass of lemonade or something refreshing. And he says, hey, Paul, look, I fixed this. Why don't you come up here on the porch for a little while? Why don't you drink some of this and get refreshed, get your strength renewed before finishing that task? Doesn't that sound good? Just somebody offering you something refreshing to say, hey, come up here for a little while in the shade, in this porch. Sit on that chair for a little bit. Just kind of refresh. I see you're getting drained. You're slowing down. You're not doing what you were doing. You're troubled. You know, your hands are trembling. You need to get refreshed, rehydrated. That just sounds good. Here on this earth, the rest is to renew our strength to fight another day. The rest he was talking about here was talking about eternal rest when Christ will be revealed to the world at his second coming. But the rest I'm referring to again is the rest now, when we still continue to do our task. But when God is revealed, wherever we're doing, whatever we're doing, that changes everything. When Christ is revealed, that changes everything in our lives. When Isaiah was going through the motions, he saw the Lord high and lifted up. After King Uzziah died, he said his train filled the temple. That changed everything for Isaiah. Everything changed. He wasn't the same person he was before. When Stephen was getting stoned to death and he's getting tied up and those rocks are hitting him, all of a sudden he sees the revelation of Jesus standing at the right hand of the Father. That changed everything for him. And when we see God, that changes everything for us. He's still there. His train is still filling the temple. He's still up there standing at the right hand of the Father. He's not gone anywhere. And one of these days, this world will see the one who's always been there. He's always been there. And this world will see them. When you reveal something, it means that it was hidden. And sometimes something can be hidden even in plain sight. Even in plain sight, something can be hidden. Let's say we were going to bless Brother Perry with a special plaque for his years of faithfulness and service. And let's say it's a big plaque. And we put it right here. And I put a sheet over that plaque. Even though you can see that it's something, you still don't know truly what it is. Because it's covered until the sheet comes out to be revealed. Christ has always been there. He's always there. Imagine what the people are going to see when all of a sudden the curtain comes down and they see a multitude of hosts of heaven standing in the clouds along with the Father. What do you think's going to happen then? He's always been there. You remember 2 Kings 6. That servant gets up early in the morning doing his morning routine, whatever it was that he did. And all of a sudden outside of that city, he sees a band of armies surrounding the city. He runs back to the prophet Elijah and he says, we're surrounded. What's going on? We're about to die. And that prophet says, hey, look, just look up a little higher. Greater are those that are for us than those that are against us. Why? He had the rest of God. He had the revelation of God. It was always there. God was always there. And that's what God wants us to be for some. He's always there. He's always there. Elijah was resting in the revelation that young man did not see until he prayed. You want to see? You want to hear from God? Well, spend time with God. I appreciate my grandma and my mother. I appreciate them, women of God and other people. But there came a time in my life when they spoken words into my life and stuff, and it's come true and this and that. But there came a time when I'm like, man, I want to know God. I want to see God. I want to experience God for myself. I don't want to hear what somebody else has to say, story. I appreciate the testimonies, but I want my own testimonies. I want my own experience with God. I want my own revelation of God. It's not going to be something new other than His Word. Understand that. I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about something that He shows you to get you through whatever you're going through, whatever we're going to face this coming year. I believe that we're going to be called upon people's lives to be that in this day and hour. Just as Paul was. The Lord told Paul, nobody's going to perish. You're going to face a storm. The ship's going to crash. But nobody's going to perish. Hey guys, I don't think this is a good idea. I don't think you get out of here, preacher. Get out of here, you weird Christian. Get out of here with what you got to say. We don't care. We're not worried about you. We're going to do our own thing. The sky looks good. Everything looks good. Everything, the signs, the media, everything's showing that everything's fine. The stock market's saying everything's good. Everything's fine. We don't have to listen to what you got to say about the return of Christ or this and that. Everything looks good. I'm making more money than ever. Blah, blah, blah. This and that. All of a sudden, things became dim and ugly. But what did the man of God do? He said, fear not. The Lord already told me. All of a sudden, they had to listen to what he had to say. God's called you to be that for somebody. But you got to have an answer. And that answer is not going to come from your intellect. It's not going to come from your years of wisdom, but it's going to come from the revelation from the Holy Ghost. It's going to come from spending time with God at the throne of grace and Him saying what He has to say, thus saith the Lord. Two of the greatest influences in my life, again, my mother and my grandmother. Privileged to have them both and able to talk to them both and hear their voice and to hear their advice. I don't take that for granted. I'm privileged to hear them say they're praying for me, to hear them say they're proud and they like what the family's doing and the kids and this and that as they grow. And I thank God for that. And I hope that we all make the rapture. I hope we make it together. And I know that one day, if it doesn't happen, one of them, or if not me, I can go first. We will be promoted to heaven. I know if they get promoted before I do, it will definitely be a big blow to me, a big blow, because it'll make me sad because I love them so. And I know that many of you have people that have moved on that were just as influential in your life, whether it be a husband, a wife, a mom, a dad. I know that many of you had people like that influential in your life. They've been promoted to glory, whether last year or the years past. But also I know that one thing that they're saying is, come rest with us. Just hold on a little longer. When you get home, you'll rest. Keep pressing on a little longer. When you get home, you'll rest. They're saying they see the Lord high and lifted up. Christ has been revealed to them. To us, we see in part, we understand in part. We don't see the whole picture yet. But for now, yours and my place of rest is the prayer closet. I challenge you to find a place, if you don't have one, to pray. I challenge you to find a place where you wait upon the Lord. A place of refreshing for your soul. Now more than ever, we're going to need that place. A place where we shut out the world and distractions. A sacred place, a holy place. Many people don't have that. It makes a difference. A place where you can put the phone down, get all distractions out, and just sit before the Lord. A place where you know the presence of God is going to be there every time you go. It makes a difference. One of my hardest years ever, spiritual, financial, whatever you want to call it, one of my hardest years was one of my best years spiritually, because I would go to this old beat up RV and that would be the place of rest for me. That would be the place where I would go and inquire of God. I would sit there and I would hear from God as He would speak to me. Again, I've shared this before. Before I close, I'm going to share this again. I know COVID has put a lot of financial strain on people, but I remember being in a financial situation, strain, bills are due, I'm sinking, I'm tired of getting calls, I'm tired of getting bills. Now, it wasn't anything irresponsible that I did. I didn't go out there and buy four-wheelers and all kind of boats and stuff, and all of a sudden I don't know what to do. No, we got into the ministry, different things, medical bills. All this stuff was just blowing, coming, snowballing at one time. I felt like I was in a ship and there holes everywhere, and I'm trying to figure out which was the best one to stop so we can just make it afloat. The money I was making at the time at the job, looking for different places. Nobody's hiring. Nobody's doing anything. Just looking for something to make ends meet, to feed the family, just to stay afloat. I'm searching and looking. But all the while going back to that RV, all the while going back to that place of rest, of refreshing, where I would pray to God and ask God to lead and guide and direct the steps. And one day, all of a sudden, I remember the story about that king that got threatened by the other king, and he brought the letter before the throne. And I got my bills and I brought them before the throne of grace. And every single bill, I laid it down before God. And I said, God, you see all this situation. You see where I'm at this morning. You see what's going on. And I began to check them off one by one as God began to meet the need. But I was going back to that place of rest, back to that place of refreshing. We need that today if we're going to survive. If you're going to survive, you need that place of rest where God can speak to you, where God can talk to you. I'm telling you, find a place and get the revelation of Christ. Find a place. We needed some money. We needed $5,000 at that time to finish paying off this medical debt. I didn't know where it was going to come from. I remember praying to God. All of a sudden I saw in a vision a white envelope with cash money in there. That's all I had. I got up from that prayer closet. I told Bethany, well, I texted her because I was still in an RV. I said, be on the lookout on the mailbox. Something's going to come our way. God told me something's coming our way. Be on the lookout. Listen, somebody's going to knock. Every time the mail truck would come, we'd want to run out there and snatch the mail out of there just to see where it was, expecting God to do something. 2 weeks went on like that. 2 weeks of expecting. And finally on a Sunday, it came. It came unexpectedly. I expected it, but from an unexpected source, unexpected person, as it was in a white envelope, cash money, something that God had placed upon these people to do. That's the revelation. That's the revelation that God shows you, and you hold on to that, and you'll make it through. But we can't know it if we don't spend time with Him. The rest of those past saints in the book of Hebrews was faith. Faith. By faith. It starts saying by faith, by faith, by faith, by faith. They turned to flight the armies of the aliens. By faith. They subdued the mouths of lions. By faith. By faith. I'm going to invite you to stand.